us today on Coastal and Progressive Rainbow Forum on Society Bites Radio. Today we will be speaking with Chris Gilbert, candidate for Manatee County Commission 5. And I want to welcome Chris today. Welcome, Chris. It's so great to have you back again, and thank you for joining us and taking the time from your busy schedule and being here to talk with us a little bit about the rest of we finished up the last time. We didn't get finished with your agenda and everything that you wanted to accomplish, and that's what we're hoping to do today. So I want to kind of let you reintroduce yourself a little bit, and then because you have such a great career behind you too, and things that you've done, and tell them a little bit more just in a nutshell, maybe in 2 or 3 minutes, summarize your career, and then we're going to go back to talking about your candidacy and what the things that you hope to accomplish on the county commission, and hopefully we can get you elected there.
Thank you very much. Very, very glad to be back, Steve. Yeah, Chris Gilbert. I'm running in Manatee County District 5, which is a very conservative district. And the reason I'm running as a write-in candidate is because I filed late and just had to push on forward when we didn't make the filing fee, even though I got a lot of support on that. Democrat, I believe that there is a blue wave coming, and I'm part of that. So a lot of Democratic values are being misunderstood and miscast, and my candidacy is just as much a part of correcting and keeping that record intact and with integrity against all the misinformation. So District 5 in Manatee County is going to be a tough nut to crack, but I think that we can do it. I mean, it's just a simple matter of writing in my name below the incumbent opponent, and we could, these are unprecedented political times. It's still very possible for us to surprise a lot of people.
That's what a lot of us are hoping for, Chris. You've got an incredible record behind you. You've helped protect the environment, and eastern Manatee County, part of your area over there, is adjacent to and maybe even run into part of the situation we have over there with the mining operations that go on near that area. And so with your environmental record behind you and everything, I think the people in eastern Manatee should really take a serious thought about who they vote for this time on the county commission. We need people who are independent and not subject to the moneyed interests that we have here so often in Manatee County. And we have paid a price for it, and we're paying a price, as you know. Some of the other candidates are running for office in the county too, who are trying to get people to wake up and not ruin our natural resources we've got here, and keep them for future generations to enjoy, and the beauty of the environment we have. And because we all have to live here, we all breathe the same air, we all live on the same planet here, but a lot of people don't realize that if we don't protect these things, we're going to lose them. And
right,
that's
exactly right. Yeah, it's a culture of resignation. I call it a culture of resignation with the Republican majority board. Their plans are all done in Tallahassee, and Tallahassee's plans are formed in Washington, D.C. under the Trump administration. And every time that with each time we would push back against development or COVID-19 or anything, it's just our hands are tied mentality when it's totally possible and preferable to take an advocacy role. And I've been doing that since I declared. My opponent, Vanessa Bao, she has already spent $20,000 defending her position here, and thousands of dollars to accounting services to the brother, I think it's the brother of Joe Gruters, the same firm who works with the same firm who audits our county budget. So they've got a very integrated system here of finance and information that I think holds down voter awareness. And so that's one of our major tasks. one of our major obstacles.
And the people do not understand. I was just doing some meeting with some of the other candidates here last night about the red tide situation. It's no secret what causes the red tide. It scientifically they pretty well know the leading elements of it, but yet because of the moneyed interest in this area, they can't put a stop to it, and it destroys. And I guess one of the good pieces of red tide. Of course, Red Tide Rick is no longer our governor of the state, but he is in Washington. He does influence things, and the fact that he and his administration terminated so many people and fired so many people in the environment in the EPA areas of the state that did the environmental protection and the monitoring and everything, that led to part of this. It shouldn't be a surprise. And it led to the people who suffered under the red tide and all the tourist dollars that were lost and the other facts. And here we have it. They have not done anything really progressive against it. They give grants to the marine research station we have over here and to do research on it. But beyond that, why weren't they thinking about this before? They knew red tide was an issue. And yet, instead of trying to take acts and steps to deal with it, and of course the horrible situation we have with the sugar industry in South Florida, and with the runoff, and because they had to pay money, they paid for the legislation to go through that protected them to continue doing the runoff into the lakes down there, which caused the huge that blue-green mess that was you almost walk on the algae was so massive down there.
Right. Both of my opponents in this race are very resigned to keeping companies like Mosaic and the phosphate industry, and it's not a very complicated problem. You go with the Green New Deal, you get solar panel and sustainable manufacturing in the 5,000 acres that are around Port Manatee, and you replace the relatively lower wage polluting jobs with high wage sustainable manufacturing, and you give incentives. Right. It's not complicated. It's just there's a lot of profit yet to be channeled through the corporate balance sheets for these other companies, and so that's it always comes down to money, and people have to stand up and say, no, it has to come down to the future now.
Right, you're exactly right.
We're at the inflection point.
We are battling this on so many fronts across the country, and it only seems like whenever we have a national, regional disaster, the red tide that we had, or we have a national disaster or an international disaster like COVID, that people wake up a little bit and realize, that science is real. Science is real. It does exist. And that's the point that a lot of I think some of your opponents don't want to realize or want to play like it isn't real. And if we don't protect the environment, we may not have one that's suitable for us to live in the future generations. I've heard some of the older conservative people say, I'm not going to be here in 50 years anyway. What do I care? Well, that shows you the mentality. Do they have children? Do they have grandchildren? Do they want them to have nieces and nephews or whatever? Don't they want them to have a place to live in on this earth? And it's so, and like one of my previous interviews just said, it's so narcissistic. It is. It is not caring about your fellow people, and yet they claim, a lot of these same people claim, through the guise of religion, that they do care. It raises troubling questions about hypocrisy here. If you really care about your neighbors and your friends, and the people who live around you, you will do things to help protect the environment. And because we all live in it, and we have to try to do things that science tells us to do, and not this some snake oil salesman that inherited $1 million from his father and claimed that's all he ever got in life.
Right. The question is, do we want to be stewards of short-term profit for a few wealthy corporations, or do we want to be stewards of the natural gifts that God gave us? I'm a religious person, or at least a person of spiritual beliefs, and I believe that God gave us this to take care of and watch out over, not to spoil and
Right.
and ruin. And I believe that the county board, the Republican board, even though they passed the Trust for Public Land ballot initiative coming up in November, they've already begun to, in very, very sophisticated linguistic ways, to undermine that with the minds of voters. By the time it gets here, voters are going to think that it's just a tax. By the time the Republicans are done, voters will have to really be struggling with, is this a tax that I can live with, instead of, can my children live with the ruined nature that I'm going to leave them, and the ruined environment that I'll leave them if we don't conserve this land.
You hit the nail on the head there. I think if we don't work together to try to conserve this, and again, it's a lot of it is it's propaganda. Sometimes they put out and trying to confuse the voters, and into to thinking that it's just a tax. Well, we've been fighting this for years. Not, and you hear the people that constantly say that something, if it has the word social with it, it's bad. Well, we can use the word social with the libraries, the police department, the fire department. They're all social services to us.
The national parks.
The national
all of the
parks,
national
yes.
parks.
Right. It's all social. Okay. So why would you be against that? And I guess it's a matter of, does it benefit them, or is it put money in their pocket in some cases? And that's sad. It really is, because there are times when you're supposed to, according to the Bible that I read, you're supposed to have some respect for your fellow man. And I don't understand how people who read the Bible and or at least claim they do, can think about doing some of the things that they do here. And some of the things that are certainly nowhere close to being social justice in our lives.
Right. Peaceful solutions to problems and the peace of mind of the entire community. We can't really rest as a society or as a community if our African American and Black brothers and sisters are living their lives in fear. We can't really have a peaceful society if there are those of us sleeping on the street amidst the most prosperous era in modern memory. We just can't do it. We can't measure the success of our community based on how a few folks are doing. We have to look at the whole picture.
And that might bring us to, we're not going too deep into this, but I just want to say, it's mind-boggling to me. I would love to have a talk with someone. The stock market is done so well here recently, but yet there's millions, tens of millions of people unemployed or underemployed, and the jobs are not back yet, and the people are suffering. And so why is the stock market in such good shape? It's overconfidence by some people who own a lot of stocks, I think. And yes, I think we can have a recovery. I think the nation can recover, but we have to face reality here. There's so many other areas that that people are suffering in.
Right.
I just seen that the unemployment system in the state of Florida. And I've worked with since back when this first happened. People that we work with in our housing coalition that have not been able to collect their unemployments. They never got people who they got one of their federal checks. I mean, this goes on.
I know.
It causes suffering among people everywhere. And
right.
Why not take some effort, make